I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, August 21st. Well, there was big rains all across some of the driest areas that we've seen in the middle part of the country. There was areas of really severe drought areas of Missouri that got some good rains. The southern plains got good rains. A lot of Oklahoma, a lot of the Texas Panhandle, just all over rains, but I mean gully washers, toad stranglers, big ones. My best buddy farms down by Nazareth, Texas, and he was getting some plowing done out there, hoping to soak up some of the forecasted rain over the next 2 or 3 weeks here before he plants wheat. Just barely got out there, and I mean the skies just let up, and it just got so muddy you couldn't get around. So we jumped in the pickup and went to Ruidoso, New Mexico for the All-American Futurity Trials and came back with more money than we left with. But let's look at the board for Monday. October live cattle futures down 42 cents, ended the day at 110.45. August spot live cattle down 35 at 109.07, and believe it or not, that's just less than $1 off what the weighted average on last week's trade was. October feeder cattle down 57 cents, ending the day at 151.27. August spot feeders down 132 at 149.62, and with the spot now falling down below 150 again. We've been jostling back and forth on either side of 150 on your board and on your cash index levels for feeder cattle based on the 800-pound steer. It seems like all summer. Weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade on 101,200 head. You think these packers don't still want to buy cattle? You know, their margins are big, over $200 a head. Why would they not want to buy them? And they do need some negotiated cattle. They don't have enough contracts to get through. They've got a lot of formula and captive supply cattle, but if they really want to step it up, they've got to buy a lot of cattle. Yet guys are giving it up too easy. This week need to try to make hay, because next week we'll be buying for a holiday week again with Labor Day coming up. But they needed cattle and really won the battle of the haggling last week. But let's look at your weighted average on live steers. 109.91, down $1.08 compared to the weighted average from the previous week. Dress steers 173.10 on the weighted average for the 5-area feeding region, down $2.63 compared to the previous week's weighted average. But your southern plains waited until late Friday and sold all at 110.50. You know, I talked on the weekly summary how they split hairs there, and they really hadn't went into the southern plains, but they was over in Colorado. They were in Wyoming. They were all over at the 110.50, and that ended up going into Kansas and some down in the Texas Panhandle too at 110.50. That's 50 cents lower for the week. Your northern plains, they had sold a lot of their cattle earlier in the week and on Thursday, with the bulk from 109 to mostly 110, and bulkier dress sales at 173. Although late on Friday, they did see some of that 110.50 up there too. Some of the guys that held out, and some 174, but just wasn't enough to bring the bulk on the weighted average up very much. But nationwide, negotiated cash trade 113,800 head. Only 6% of those sold for the 15 to 30 day delivery. So that's healthy. We don't need to be selling a lot of cattle out front. Because we need to stay current on our sales and not get the packers a lot of cattle coming down the road yet, because we've got here a few more weeks, maybe a month, maybe not quite that much, of heavy supplies. After that, we can start getting the market back up there where everybody'd like to see it. Let's look at your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central late in the afternoon on Monday set at 147.68, down just 11 cents from the end of last week, which is really just steady. But look at some markets. It was so wet around you couldn't get cattle out everywhere. Oklahoma National Stockyards only had 4,200 head, and most of it because it was just too wet to get down the back roads to get those cattle out. And I think the lighter supplies may have helped the market a little bit more than maybe it would have if they'd had a normal run. But feeder steers $1 to $3 higher. Feeder heifers $5 to $6 higher. Still kind of catching up on some sales and on the heifer side. Had a few calves, but probably not enough to really get the buyers interested in them and put loads together. And then it's also so wet, you're gonna have to put those calves in some kind of a growing yard facility or something. Going to be boggy and those things too. So the few calves they sold were $1 to $2 lower. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 5,200 head there. Feeder steers there steady to $3 higher, except some middleweight calves, and they were mostly steady. And then feeder heifers there catching up to at $2 to $6 higher. They're having a big sale in Tecumseh, Nebraska. Still finishing up the barbecue specials, the customer appreciation deals here late in the summer. A lot of those Nebraska sales have them that time of year. But at Tecumseh, the big special is going to be on Wednesday. And be sure and tune in on dvauction.com. You can view and bid on the sale at DV Auction at Tecumseh. You order buyers that need to be there to see them. Make plans to be in Tecumseh. They'll have enough cattle to make it worth your time. But big sale in Faith, South Dakota on Monday, 3,300 head. You won't see that information anywhere else. But look at the report out of Faith, South Dakota there. You see they had a big slug of 8-weight heifers, over 1,220 head of them. The heifers averaged 872 pounds at 145.93, and that would be a steer average in most places. But look at a set of steers that also sold in Faith. Individual quote, 61 head of 804 pound steers bring 156.50. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.